Well, here she is, folks. RPM 2.5 inch cat delete pipe with the cutouts. I'm excited. Came with this. I bought the heat shield with it. That came with some springs for putting it on. Came with a wiring harness, which seems legit. Looks like all I'm gonna have to do is hook it up to some power and ground. And off we go. I got the hook to make putting the springs on easier. Got the heavy duty clamp. Got a sticker. Some zip ties. Yeah, let's get started on tearing into it. So, very first thing I did was gain some access to where you're going to unbolt the exhaust from the turbocharger. 4 bolts under the seat cushion to get that out. I didn't bother messing with the seat belt because you can see there's plenty of slack to just set it off to the side. And then this guy in the middle just got 2 little push rivets. You can see the rubber grommet there, and then 1 7mm clamp. And we have access to this side of it. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and take out this O2 sensor, get that out of the way, and then see if we can't slide these clamps out. I used a 22mm. That is the size for every O2 sensor on everything: cars, trucks, SUVs, blah 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 blah. Some Hondas have a tiny O2 sensor, but that doesn't even really count because it's not a wide band. You can see we got her up out of the exhaust, and I just kind of set the O2 sensor up here. I didn't bother unplugging it. Next on the agenda, springs. We're gonna see if we can't get all those springs off without removing everything. I don't know what it's gonna take to remove this back plastic, but I don't feel like doing it. So we're gonna see if we can't sneak it out. Next thing we're gonna do, come back in here, back in the passenger side, is remove this clamp. The bolt is a little bit too long to get a socket on. It bottoms out in there, so I'll be using an 11mm ratcheting wrench. You can see we got the bolt the whole way backed off. It's way back on the threads now. It doesn't really want to move off the turbo, so the next thing I'm going to do is pull off this heat shield to get access to those back 2 springs. It's just a couple 10mm bolts. Zip them out quick. Now we got the heat shield out of the way. It's going to be really easy to get to those springs. And we're going to go ahead and remove this clamp right here, because that clamp holds the exhaust on to this brace. Okay, we got her off and on the ground. It was kind of a pain to get this clamp off. I found that using a flathead screwdriver and a little bit of hammering helped get that off. I did have to remove the 2 hose clamps to remove the heat shield. It made it a little bit easier getting it out. When I pulled it out, I found it was easiest to pull back, twist down, and then kind of angle it this way. I'm going to put the new one in the same way. I don't think I'm going to run this heat shield since I bought the aftermarket one. In the instructions, it noted that a lot of people forget to transfer the turbo gasket. You see that little gasket with the tangs right there. Go ahead and pop that off, put it on my new pipe. Alrighty, got my turbo gasket transferred over to this pipe, and then I am going to take and put the seal on and tighten down on the secondary O2 port because I'm not using it right now. And we will go ahead and get this new pipe slapped in there. So I've got it kind of mocked up in there where it needs to be. I kept having an issue where every time I would try and pull on a spring back here, it would fall off the front, and then whenever I try and do the front, it would fall off the back. So what I've done is just put a little zip tie on the back here, lining up these 2. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the front and torque down the front turbo before I try and pull these springs on, because this thing's moving all over the place. Well, we got the turbo clamp on there and all tightened up. We got the 1 hose clamp back around that mount. Now for the really not fun part, putting these springs back on. Alright, there she is with all the springs attached. I will say those springs were an absolute nightmare getting on. I feel like they probably put the tabs too far away from each other. It took 2 people to get the springs on, one using the pick tool and one using pliers. It was definitely not a good time at all, but they're on now. So I have all the anchor points done. It's got all the springs back here. It's got the clamp in the middle, and then it's tightened up by the turbo. Next thing is going to be the wiring. Now, while I'm in there, I am also putting in a dual battery kit. I got a Evo clutch kit here too, but that's another video. I almost forgot to mention, I bought the little heat shield cover for it. Sorry to get a picture here, but you just feed the wiring for the O2 sensor through the hole that's in it right there, and then I went ahead and popped my O2 sensor in the exhaust and tightened it up, and now I'm just going to secure it using these 4 springs that came with. And then after you get her wrapped around, it's just a couple springs. These springs are really easy to put on. You can literally just pull them on with your fingers. That's all I did. And that gives you a little bit of heat protection back behind the seat. I decided to not run the factory exhaust cover here. I think it'll be fine without it. Plus I think it looks a little bit cleaner. Alright, moving on. We popped off these panels. We're looking for the distribution block. I think it's a little bit further up there and I can't quite get this front panel out. So I'm going to be removing my front seat. To remove the front seat, you just pull up on the back part, that's Velcro. And then there's these 4 bolts you gotta get. You gotta cut the same notch in the front, just like I did on the back. I'll be able to get the seat out of the way. Now with the seat out of the way, really easy to pop loose this panel. There's your power distribution block. On this block, you have got power, ground, and accessory power. Really nice Can-Am to give you the accessory power right there. Gonna make life easy. Quick little clip for everybody because I'm finally doing the wiring on the valve for the exhaust. I have got it ran right here to the bus bar where we're going to steal ground from there and switch power from there. And we snuck it out through the center console, down, around, back up and through. And this is where we'll be mounting our open and close switch. Alright, so we're doing a little bit of a time warp here. Obviously my hair is a little different. But I'm recording this about 5 months after I installed that. I never got around to editing this video. It's actually a little bit good though, because now I can give you a review of the Pipe 2. I do love the pipe, works well, the switch works well. I got it mounted up in the dash here. See, we got the switch right here. Loud, not loud. Loud, not loud. I will say this, when you're going along, you notice pretty much no additional noise from stock. I did notice a little bit of a D-cell pops now that I don't have the catalytic converter, but I kind of like it. Yeah, definitely a good upgrade. It knocked down the heat in the back of the car quite a bit. Held up for some mud ride. No regrets whatsoever. Hope you all enjoyed the install video. I'll do a couple sound clips here for you too. We got it all put back together.